Hello friends, you've just unlocked another chapter of the past, hidden, untold, and waiting to be discovered. This is Buried Truths. Let's view the video. In the shadow of English dominance, one man rose to become the face of Scottish resistance, Robert the Bruce. A warrior, a nobleman, and ultimately a king, his journey from claimant to conqueror rewrote the fate of Scotland and challenged the might of England itself. Born in 1274 into the powerful Bruce family, Robert inherited a mixed Norman-Scottish lineage and a noble claim to Scotland's throne. His family owned vast estates across Scotland and England, placing him amid the highest social ranks. From childhood, he was raised for leadership and ambition. Scotland in the late 13th century was a kingdom in turmoil. The death of King Alexander III without an heir led to chaos. King Edward I of England saw the crisis as an opportunity to assert dominance, turning Scotland into a political battleground. Robert's early years were marked by political maneuvering. Initially, he appeared loyal to Edward I and fought on the English side. But Robert harbored deeper ambitions. He saw himself not just as a nobleman but as a rightful king who could free Scotland from foreign control. His rivalry with John Comyn, another powerful claimant, reached a deadly climax in 1306. In a fateful meeting at Greyfriars Church in Dumfries, Robert killed Comyn, a sacrilegious act that shocked the nation but cleared his path to the throne. Soon after Comyn's death, Robert declared himself King of Scots at Scone Abbey. Though his coronation was hasty and lacked papal approval, it symbolized a break from English authority and ignited a new chapter in the wars of Scottish independence. However, the rebellion was fragile. Edward I responded with brutal force. Robert suffered defeat at Methven, fled into the Highlands, and became a hunted man. But the seeds of revolt had been planted, and Robert's journey as a warrior king had just begun. After his defeat at Methven in 1306, Robert the Bruce became Scotland's most wanted man. Hunted by the English and rival Scots, he disappeared into the harsh Highland wilderness. His rebellion seemed crushed, but these dark years would forge the king he was destined to become. Forced into exile, Bruce fled to the remote Western Isles, surviving in caves, forests, and windswept mountains. His enemies believed him dead. Few followers remained. Yet Bruce's will endured, strengthened by hardship and the belief that Scotland still needed a sovereign free from English chains. In retaliation for Bruce's defiance, King Edward I captured and executed several members of his family. His brothers were hanged, drawn, and quartered. His sisters and wife were imprisoned. These brutal acts fueled Robert's rage and deepened his resolve for vengeance and victory. During his hiding, legend says Bruce watched a spider repeatedly trying to spin its web. After failing 6 times, it succeeded on the 7th. Inspired by this perseverance, Bruce vowed to fight again, no matter the odds. Though unproven, the tale became symbolic of his indomitable spirit. Emerging from hiding, Bruce began a campaign of guerrilla warfare. Using speed and terrain to his advantage, he launched small but effective attacks on English garrisons. Avoiding open battle, he waged a psychological war that slowly began turning the tide in his favor. Support grew from loyal Highland clans and disenfranchised nobles. Though resources were scarce, their unity was fierce. Bruce's leadership began to inspire not just soldiers but a nation yearning for its lost identity. From the shadows, the dream of independence sparked to life once more. In 1307, Bruce returned to the Scottish mainland, determined to reclaim his kingdom. Though his army was small and supplies low, his spirit was unbreakable. The long road to freedom had begun, stone by stone, blow by blow. By 1307, Robert the Bruce began shifting from hunted outlaw to victorious commander. He mastered ambush tactics and psychological warfare, using Scotland's rugged terrain to strike fast and disappear. His war was not of grand battles, it was a relentless campaign of disruption, defiance, and daring survival. At Glen Troll, Bruce used the landscape to his advantage. From high ridges, his small force hurled boulders and arrows onto the English army below. The ambush caused chaos and retreat, proving he could win despite inferior numbers. It was his first major step toward redemption. Another critical victory came at Loudoun Hill. Bruce selected a narrow, boggy battlefield to limit cavalry advantage. His spearmen held firm as English knights charged and fell. It was a stunning defeat for the English and a bold statement. Bruce's comeback had truly begun. These triumphs weren't just military, they shifted morale. For years, Scots had seen defeat and despair. Now, whispers of Bruce's victories spread. Peasants, nobles, and even former rivals began to see him as the hope for a truly independent Scotland once more. Bruce's forces began capturing castles across northern Scotland. Rather than occupying them, he often destroyed their walls to prevent English recapture. His strategy was not about holding land, it was about denying the enemy strongholds and bleeding their will to fight. The death of Edward I in 1307 dealt England a serious blow. His son, Edward II, lacked his father's ruthless efficiency. Bruce capitalized on this moment, pressing harder against English forces, knowing the new king was inexperienced and politically unstable. Momentum had shifted. What began in shadows now surged into the open. Bruce's victories were no longer flukes, they were the groundwork of a movement. Scotland, broken and battered, was slowly rising under the hand of its warrior king. In June 1314, Robert the Bruce faced the might of England near Bannockburn. Edward II led a massive army to relieve Stirling Castle, still held by English forces. Bruce, outnumbered and out-armed, chose to fight. What followed became Scotland's greatest military victory, and Bruce's defining moment. Bruce chose marshy terrain near the Bannockburn stream, narrowing English movement and neutralizing their cavalry. He commanded around 6,000 men against Edward's 20,000. With terrain mastery and disciplined formations, Bruce made strategy his greatest weapon against overwhelming English numbers. On the battle's first day, Bruce faced an English knight, Henry de Bohun, in single combat. As Bohun charged, Bruce sidestepped and split his skull with an axe. The bold kill inspired Scottish troops and symbolized Bruce's personal bravery and tactical brilliance. Scottish infantry fought in tight schiltron formations, spear-wielding circles that repelled cavalry. English knights charged repeatedly, but boggy terrain and Bruce's disciplined troops held. Panic spread through the English lines as their most powerful weapon, their cavalry, failed to break the Scottish defense. Bruce's men advanced, forcing the English toward the stream. Chaos erupted as the English army became trapped and confused. The Scots pushed relentlessly, turning defense into attack. Edward II's army crumbled. Soldiers drowned or were cut down. The battle became a total rout. Edward II fled the battlefield, abandoning his army. Thousands of English soldiers were captured or killed. Bannockburn wasn't just a military win, it was a psychological victory. Bruce had proven that courage, strategy, and unity could triumph over size and power. Bannockburn turned Bruce from a rebel into a legend. Scotland's fight for independence had found its turning point. For the first time in decades, Scots believed in victory. The dream of freedom, once dim, now blazed with unstoppable force. Victory at Bannockburn didn't end the war. Robert the Bruce now faced the challenge of transforming military success into political reality. He needed not just to hold Scotland but to gain international recognition of its independence, especially from the English crown and the powerful papacy in Rome. Bruce worked tirelessly to unite the fractious Scottish nobility. He rewarded loyal clans and reconciled former enemies, forging a solid political front. By strengthening internal alliances, he ensured Scotland could stand firm under a single crown, a crucial step toward long-term independence and survival. To pressure England further, Bruce launched bold raids into northern English territories. These attacks disrupted Edward II's authority and drained resources. In 1315, he even sent his brother Edward Bruce to Ireland, hoping to open a second front and gain Gaelic support against English control. In 1320, Scottish nobles sent the Declaration of Arbroath to Pope John XXII. This powerful document declared Scotland's independence, Bruce's legitimacy, and the Scots' right to self-rule. It was one of history's most famous assertions of national sovereignty and remains a symbol of Scottish identity. Although the Pope had earlier excommunicated Bruce for killing Comyn, he gradually softened his stance. Bruce's political pressure, diplomatic efforts, and growing prestige pushed the church toward recognizing his rule. It was a vital shift, giving Scotland greater leverage on the international stage. In 1328, Bruce finally achieved his goal. The Treaty of Edinburgh-Northampton was signed between Scotland and England. England, under Edward III, formally recognized Scotland's independence and Robert the Bruce as its rightful king, ending decades of war and foreign domination. Through political wisdom, strategic aggression, and unshakable resolve, Robert the Bruce secured what generations had fought for. Not just victory on the field, but the recognition of a nation's freedom, written in treaties, sealed in diplomacy, and etched into history. By the late 1320s, Robert the Bruce had achieved what once seemed impossible, an independent Scotland under his crown. Yet, despite his triumphs, age and illness began to weigh on him. He spent his final years securing peace, stability, and his kingdom's future beyond his lifetime. Suffering from a debilitating illness, possibly leprosy, Bruce withdrew from warfare and focused on governance. He strengthened Scotland's borders, reorganized law and administration, and ensured his son David would inherit a stable throne. His final acts were those of a king building a lasting foundation. In 1329, Robert the Bruce died at the age of 54. He passed away in Cardross, near the River Clyde. His body was buried in Dunfermline Abbey with great honor. But his heart, as per his dying wish, had a separate journey to make. Bruce had asked that his heart be taken to the Holy Land in a crusade, as penance and a symbol of faith. Sir James Douglas carried it in a silver casket, but was killed in Spain. The heart was later returned and buried at Melrose Abbey. Legends and myths grew around Bruce after his death. The story of the Spider, his chivalric bravery, and his role in freeing Scotland became deeply rooted in national memory. Over time, he became more than a king, he became a symbol of Scotland itself. His image has appeared in literature, film, and art, forever tied to the themes of courage and freedom. From epic poems to movies like Braveheart and Outlaw King, Bruce's legend continues to inspire. His character endures as both man and myth. Robert the Bruce didn't just win battles, he built a nation. His leadership defined an era and shaped Scottish identity for centuries. Even today, he is remembered not only as a warrior king, but as the soul of Scotland's fight for freedom. Thanks for watching Buried Truths. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden corners of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful stories from history's hidden vault. See you in the next video.